life worth living. Part 3. What actually makes a life worth living? A life worth living was never meant to be a perfect one. Yet many of us spend years quietly chasing that idea. Not because we're shallow, not because we're foolish, but because we were taught, subtly, repeatedly, that life should eventually become stable, comfortable, predictable. That if we do the right things in the right order, life will finally feel complete. And when it doesn't, we assume something is wrong with us. From an early age, we're shown images of what a good life looks like. Milestones, achievements, security, happiness. And while none of those things are bad, something important gets lost along the way. We start measuring life instead of living it. We compare our insides to other people's outsides. We judge our progress against timelines that were never designed for us. We quietly ask ourselves, why doesn't my life feel how I thought it would? That question alone carries so much unspoken pain. Here's something rarely said out loud: a perfect life would actually leave very little room for growth. If nothing ever challenged us, we wouldn't develop depth. If nothing ever went wrong, we wouldn't learn resilience. If everything always worked out smoothly, we wouldn't learn compassion for ourselves or for others. This doesn't mean suffering is good. It means difficulty is formative. And a life worth living isn't one without hardship. It's one where hardship doesn't erase meaning. When people look back on their lives, they rarely talk about the years everything was easy. They talk about the moments that changed them, the relationships that shaped them, the experiences that forced them to slow down and listen. Often, the moments that felt like interruptions at the time become the moments that mattered most. Not because they were pleasant, but because they were real. Modern culture tells us happiness is the goal, but happiness is a state, not a foundation. It comes and goes. If happiness becomes the measure of a life worth living, then every difficult season feels like failure. But meaning works differently. Meaning can exist alongside grief, alongside uncertainty, alongside pain. And meaning, not happiness, is what gives life weight. This is why so many people feel lost even when their lives look fine. They did everything they were told to do. They followed the rules. They met the expectations. And yet something feels missing. Not because they failed, but because no one taught them how to relate to life internally. They were taught how to achieve, not how to be. Ancient cultures understood this distinction intuitively. They didn't separate life into successful and unsuccessful. They understood seasons, times of growth, times of loss, times of waiting, times of action. Winter wasn't seen as a problem. It was necessary. Rest wasn't laziness. It was wisdom. Grief wasn't something to rush through. It was something to honor. Nothing was wasted. Modern life, by contrast, teaches us to outrun discomfort, to distract, to numb, to optimize ourselves out of feeling. But a life worth living isn't faster. It's deeper. It's one where you allow experiences to shape you without hardening against them, where you learn from pain without becoming bitter, where you feel joy without clinging to it, where you accept impermanence without collapsing into fear. Many people ask, quietly or aloud, what is the point of all this? The point isn't constant happiness. The point isn't control. The point isn't perfection. The point is relationship. Relationship with yourself, with others, with life as it unfolds. A life worth living is one where you stay in relationship, even when things are uncertain. Especially then, think about the moments that feel meaningful. They're rarely grand. They're often small, ordinary, fleeting. A conversation that made you feel understood. A moment of peace after a long struggle. A quiet realization that you survived something you once thought you wouldn't. These moments don't come from perfect circumstances. They come from presence. Presence doesn't mean positivity. It means honesty. It means letting yourself feel what is actually happening instead of what you think should be happening. It means staying with yourself when things are uncomfortable instead of abandoning yourself in the hope of a better future. A life worth living isn't built by force. It's built by attention, by noticing when you're rushing, by noticing when you're resisting, by noticing when you're living on autopilot, and gently, without judgment, choosing to return. Again and again. This is not about lowering standards. It's about changing orientation from how do I make life behave to how do I live well inside what's here. That shift alone changes everything. You don't need a different life to live meaningfully. You don't need certainty to move forward. You don't need to have everything figured out. Across these 3 episodes, we've explored something much quieter than a perfect life. We've looked at how life is actually lived. We looked at the idea of happiness, how easily it becomes a performance, a checklist, a comparison. We looked at power, how it's often mistaken for control when it really lives in presence. And now, here at the end, we arrive at meaning, not as something you earn, but something you inhabit. A life worth living isn't something waiting for you in the future. It isn't unlocked once everything makes sense. It isn't granted when you finally get it right. It's something you participate in, right here, inside the life you already have. You show up as you are. You listen instead of rush. You stay connected to yourself, to your values, to what feels true in your body. Not perfectly, not all the time, just honestly. And maybe that's the quiet invitation underneath this whole series. To stop trying to fix your life and start relating to it. To stop measuring yourself against an imagined version of how things should be and begin meeting yourself where you actually are. Because nobody can design a perfect life for you, but you can learn how to meet life as it is. And when you do, with honesty, presence, and self-trust, life doesn't suddenly become easy, but it does become yours, and that in itself is a life worth living. Let me know in the comments how you think what a peaceful life looks like. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm push this video out to people who need it. As always, this has been Valkyrie. Thanks for stopping by. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.